Asteroid of fear.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. Sorry this is coming at you a little late. I did not get to record last night, but we shall go over that. So, I'm gonna have my cup of coffee while I sit here and wrap up this week, give you a little insight as to what's gone on in this episode of the Caregiving Chronicles. So, my sound should be a little more crisp. I'm running my mic through an audio interface, and what you can't see through the background is got a nice little boom stand for my mic, so it holds it close to my face, and I don't feel like I'm having to bend over towards the desk when I kept my mic on the desk on a little tripod stand. So excited about that. Also, if you're watching, you may notice the video quality. Um, I am actually using an iPhone 15 cam, which is a little departure from, I do have a Sony vlogging cam, ZV-1, but I actually think the picture is better on this one. So we're going with that. I did some test runs and yeah, the iPhone looks a little more natural than the Sony. The Sony kind of pops the colors a little bit. Like I can remember seeing the red in the shirt. It was super red. So probably gonna be sending that back. Anywho, we'll get over. Let's start with why I'm recording late, and then we'll wrap up the week. All right, so yeah, yesterday kind of got away from all of us. It was a challenging day, somewhat, I guess you could say. And the day before was slightly challenging as well. But yesterday, I think, was the first time I felt like true frustration in this process in terms of time, I guess it was. So, I mean, I do not require much, but in order for me to be the best person I need to be to serve others, many times, some sort of movement, workout, a way for me to go and decompress is kind of key. And I didn't get that yesterday. So if you've heard all the other episodes, then you know that my back's been a little tweaked, but it is slowly getting back to normal. And normally I am a AM workout person. I like to get up and do my workout first thing in the morning. But with a tweaked back here lately, I've actually had to kind of warm up to it, if that makes sense. Like I get out of bed, my back is stiff, and subsequently I need to walk for a little while. Need to get up and moving. Need to put on the TENS unit, maybe throw on the ice pack. And then the lifting belt as I get ready to care for Buck and wait for him to wake up and go through our morning routine. Just like empty the cath bag, have him take his AM meds, fix him some breakfast. And here lately, he's been sleeping extra late, uh, maybe like 30, 40 minutes before therapy arrives. So he's mostly just been having like some OJ and his morning meds, not wanting to eat. Um, but yeah, so normally my AM routine is to wake up and work out, but I've had to kind of push it off to the afternoon or the evening, which I'm not really a fan of because it kind of wires you up for one, but two, you've already had a stressful day and now you're kind of getting some of the stress out where I compare an AM workout to you're getting the hardest part of your day done with first and you're kind of bulletproofing yourself for anything that may come that day. So yeah, I prefer the AM workout. And I feel like I'm almost to a point where I can get back to that, which I'm pretty stoked for. I mean, last night I slept on the couch because the couch is super supportive and hard. And when I woke up about 2:30 this morning, I was able to roll off and get up and not be so stiff. So that was kind of nice. I may have to stick to the couch for a little bit. But, the room was taken, so I wasn't able to record. Um, because I've reset up my podcasting area to the master bedroom because it's huge, but it doesn't share a wall with Buck, and therefore you're not going to hear any of the news station on the other end of the wall. I'm also out of the kitchen, which is nice. That was temporary. That was like messy action. Let's just make it happen type of a thing. So I'm in my chair, which is absolutely way more comfortable than those kitchen chairs. They were brutal on my back. And I felt myself leaning over the table for both the camera and the mic. But anywho, on to yesterday and kind of the day before. Thursday was, physical therapy. So he got up maybe an hour before, and then physical therapy came. And uh, we got him to the chair, did some exercises by the sink, like pulling up from seated to standing. And then Thursday, he was going to have to go to the bank because somebody hacked his bank account. And my wife had taken him last time, so she was going to take him this go round and then go vote. Because we do have an area where you can do kind of curbside voting. If you are on a walker or wheelchair, have a disability, they can bring the machine out. But yeah, so we left him in the chair, watched some TV while he got ready. But of course, he said last time they wouldn't allow him to vote with his expired ID card, be it a Texas ID card, and they said his military ID wouldn't work. But I called the people this time and they said yes, even if it's expired, it would work as a form of identification. However, he is super old school. He wanted to find his birth certificate and he's got a safe in one of the bedrooms and he wanted to look for it. And it was just so funny. Like, he's kind of hard headed. Um, he had me wheel him into the bedroom towards the safe, but it is like a small coat closet. And there's just no way you can get in there, especially with the wheelchair. I mean, it is a foot and a half deep, maybe by 3 foot wide. Pretty narrow though, little coat closet. And I took him to the chair. He asked me to get him a mirror, a hand mirror, and he did this whole like kind of like the you see the prison movies and they're like sticking a mirror out and looking down the tier. He was kind of like looking at his safe, and it took forever for him to just say, "Well, I can't get in there. Can you help me?" But it was more like a in stages, like, "Hey, I can't get in here." And I'm like, "Well, do you want me to help you? Do you want to wait for Gabby, my wife, when she gets here, since she kind of helps him with all this stuff?" And he has a certain bond and trust with her over going through his mail and this and that, just like the bank account. Even though I'm the former practice manager with the profit and losses experience, at my job, when I did work, if we collected $48,000 for the month or X amount for the year and we're reconciling it, if there was 27 cents missing, guess who goes through and combs through everything and finds it? Me. So I am a little more versed in that kind of stuff than my wife, but he trusts her more. So it's always like she kind of wants to keep me in the background to help her with that when it happens, but she's kind of like the front facing person to help him. But, it was in stages. He was like, looking at it. Then I had to ask him that. And then he's like, finally, yeah, can you look in there? And it's like, okay, that was easy. But he was kind of cantankerous before. in terms of, when we go through doors in the wheelchair, I'm like, tuck your elbows in, but he was grabbing onto the knobs, wouldn't allow me to push forward. And he's like, let go of the chair. I got it. I'm like, okay, you say so, but you don't. But anywho, it's just, for me, it's frustrating because I'm here to serve. I'm here to make your life easier, but you have to let me make it easier. But at the same time, too, I guess I get it in a way. He wants to get back to where he was, and that's not going to happen if I do everything for him. So he wants to do things for himself. I get it. But he's not at that level yet, and I guess the other part of that is, I've said a couple of times that it takes us all. It takes me and my wife, my daughter, having different personalities, different energies around. But yeah, he's definitely way more docile, friendly, less direct, less irritable around my wife than he is me. And I don't know if it's this guy to guy thing type of thing, but you know, he definitely gets more testy with me, I guess you could say. But it I think sometimes it bothers me, and then I just try to go back and go, look, I know he's old, he doesn't feel well. If I don't feel 100%, he can't feel 100%. So I try not to stress about it, but it does, I don't know how you would describe it. Maybe it's semi-hurt feelings, because like I say, you go back and you're like, hey, I'm here to help, but you have to let me help. Um, so that was kind of Thursday. And of course, we got him in the car, got him back for him to do all that stuff. And in the meantime, my wife's window fell down. I tried to go and fix that, fell down into the door, couldn't fix it, even though I fixed the one on my car last year, but hers had two layers, requires some special tools that a glass place has to do it. But yeah, as soon as we got him back in the bed that day, he fell right out. However, that was kind of Thursday, so I was already a little, wouldn't say butthurt, but my emotions and feelings were already a little stifled somewhat, just from, like, remove your hands, I got it, um, beating around the bush for help, whatnot. But let's fast forward to yesterday. Why I didn't record. My wife had some stuff to do. She was supposed to go register our van and go vote, but it's far away because we live in a different county and we have to drive. It's probably 45 minutes away. And she took my daughter to school, had to help somebody with an errand, and she does her thing, and um, kind of shopping through, like, not flea market, but kind of like a crazy hot deals, finding deals, which she finds some good ones, and I don't knock it because that's her, the way I exercise, that's her thing, gives her peace of mind, the thrill of the deal. So she did that, and she was going to go vote and register and come back here and give me a little break in the afternoon so I could work out and do this podcast. However, things didn't go as planned. Um, and then she got a call from one of her clients who had bad aim at the toilet and had an accident. And so she had to go and clean that up. And then we had another friend who lives in my dad's over 55 community that got out of rehab and had a lift installed and all kinds of stuff. And she's been helping with him. And she was supposed to go and come through. And it was like, okay, I thought she'd be home in like 10 minutes. But she ended up doing more than what was asked. Because it's kind of like one of those things, like, you get in and he's in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, and has a super lift installed in his house as of, I think, oh, yesterday. Yeah, the first. So, um, and he just got out of rehab yesterday. So she had to help get him settled. Well, that 10 minutes of what I thought was supposed to be an hour, and during this time, we're kind of waiting for the nurse to show up. He's indicated to me that he would like a bath today. Um, and I'm waiting for my wife. Then he's like, hey, I gotta poop. Now he normally just goes in a diaper and we change him. And I'm like, okay, we'll just go ahead and poop. And when my wife gets here, we'll change you, give you a bath, all that kind of jazz, and get you ready for the weekend or for the evening. Um, well, that's not what he wanted. All of a sudden, he's like, well, I need to make it to the toilet. And I'm like, oh man. My brain just goes into like, I can feel my legs under the desk with the anxiety. It's the same place my brain goes when this kind of stuff happens. But it was, I'm like, in my head, I'm sitting here going, bro, you can't even transfer to the chair. Like it takes two of us. It's difficult with just me because he's taller, he weighs quite a bit. He freaks out, he fights it because he's guarded. He leans back, he doesn't keep his feet straight. He ends up on the edge, and then I have to like muscle him up each time. And I'm like sitting here going, how do you think you're going to make it into the bathroom and transfer into this little narrow toilet and stuff? Well, we had a bedside commode, and I'm like, fine, I'll get that. There's no basin, so I have to put a plastic bag in it, almost like I guess they do on a musician's tour bus. You don't shit on the bus, shit in a plastic bag and toss it. So I get all that. We got a slide board. I dropped the arm. We're going to see if we can get on the slide board and slide to the toilet. But he can't even help enough to get his butt on the board. So I moved the toilet closer and I'm like, fine, we're just going to transfer over and I'll drop his drawers and stuff when that happens. And I transfer him over, which was a pain because he got on the edge of the toilet and I had to get behind him, pull him up, set him straight, and then unfasten the diaper and kind of roll it in the front and then kind of run my hand around the rim to get the diaper part into the sack, the toilet. So if he pooped, it would go directly into the thing, the bag. Um, but it was alone, like he couldn't wait, and he was hell bent on doing it. And part of my frustration is like he never does it with my wife. It's always me. It's always when I'm alone with no help, and it's always like got to be right now. Can't wait. And so, oh, a little poke of the mic. So yeah, I was a little frustrated. Then I get in this kind of like, how am I going to do this? I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to hurt him. Why does this have to be done? And then there's another part of me, the kind, caring, compassionate, understanding me that's like, well, sure, it's got to feel abnormal to shit in your pants, I guess. Um, it's got to feel abnormal to take a shit laying down. You know, most of us shit on a toilet like normal people, uh, sitting up. And, maybe it was that, like, hey, he's gonna feel better. But, part of it is too, is like, he wants to get back to normality. And it's good he can feel the urge and know. However, everything's got to be in stages. You got to build the strength to stand up and transfer on your own. There's stages to the game, whether it's podcasting, losing weight, uh, being an entrepreneur, this rehabilitation and healing. You got to go. I'm a very first things first. Like, you don't jump to the end, you're just asking for it. asking for trouble when you do. But we'll circle back to that. My wife finally gets home and, you know, he was like, he was trying to go. And so I left him alone. I said, I'll give you some privacy. By the time my wife gets home, um, we go in there and he's asleep on the toilet. So, yeah, he finished and we got him to the bed so we could clean him and change him. And that was not the best either. He ended up on the edge again. And thank goodness for Chuck's because his bottom was dirty, but the sack didn't quite catch the grape sized fruit turd that came out. It's kind of stuck in the diaper. But yeah, he needed to go and he went. Um, I guess if anyone knows what it's like to be constipated, then to go feels good. And when you get older, that's a huge thing. That regularity, that motility in your stomach can make you uncomfortable. But there were some days he hadn't been eating a lot. Now, maybe it's because he had a big ball of poop stuck in his stomach and wasn't hungry. It was kind of hard to tell. But, I associated with little input equals little output, but it was stuck there. And then right after that, the nurse comes. We got to pick up my daughter. I go to get my daughter. My wife's gives them a bath and stuff. And the nurse comes while I'm picking up my daughter. And, then my daughter was like, she was supposed to go to a Dia de los Muertos type event and sell jewelry downtown. And the night before, she indicated she didn't want to go. So I thought I would pick her up. We'd come home, finish this out. I could get my walk in and podcast. Well, she decides she wants to go. So I take her to the house because she wants my wife to take her. And I go right back into this mode. My wife gets dressed and, they have to jet out within like 15 minutes. So it will be up to me to stay here, get him finished, wait for the nurse to come back and change the Foley catheter, which I help with that. Um, but it was time went by fast, and this event was going from 5:30 to like 8, and I knew by the time all this would happen, it would be late, and I wouldn't want to work out. Maybe record, maybe not. But I was just frustrated. It was kind of my wife and my daughter spent a lot of time last week, and I spent a lot of time here. The weekend before, I got to spend some one-on-one time with my daughter. But it was kind of this, I didn't get to see my wife really much yesterday. She was gone, maybe like 30 minutes in the morning, maybe 30 minutes in the afternoon. I didn't get to see my daughter. Maybe when I take her to school, and then, which I didn't yesterday. But, she's been kind of doing her own thing. I haven't really had one-on-one time with her either. And so I feel isolated, kind of stuck here all the time. And it was just war on me yesterday. All the frustration from Thursday, from Friday, from him being hard headed and like, hey, this needs to happen now. It's like, come on. It's just that whole like my head just kind of explodes like, bro, like you can't stand up on your own, you can't walk on your own. It'd be like somebody thinking they can drive a car when they can't even operate their own feet. It's like, come on, just let's be safe. Let's not either one of us get hurt over this. And so, yeah, I was just frustrated. Finally my wife and well, after we get the Foley changed and all that, then it's like, get them settled. It's like, hey, what do you want for dinner? And normally we keep a rotisserie chicken around. He likes rotisserie chicken and vegetables, but we didn't get one this week. And, we had some options, some that were pre-made and some that weren't. And, he wanted the non-pre-made option, which required me to cook. And I was like, well, another stumbling block on getting to record the podcast tonight. And, he has this thing too where he likes for us to eat dinner together. And with my wife and them gone, I was like, I was not really hungry because I wanted to work out. I don't usually like to eat my last meal until I work out. And I knew that was not going to happen. So I cooked him up a pork chop and vegetables. I split the pork chop with him because, he maybe eats like 2 ounces of meat and 2 ounces of vegetables, and then follows it up with dessert, which I don't mind because he needs the calories. Um, but yeah, I was like, well, now I gotta do the hardest thing, open the package of pork chops that my wife was going to cook and we were going to do a different day, but I didn't want to do them all. So it was a single. And, I think once I kind of stopped fighting it and resigned to it, I sat and was like, well, screw it. I'll eat the other half and I'll eat with them and just enjoy it. We went in there and let him bless the food and we ate together and he ate it all, which he normally doesn't eat all of his dinner. So I was happy about that. At least I could bring that because he needs the nourishment. He needs the calories. So I was happy that my cooking was well enough for him to enjoy it all. But I think there was like a level of frustration already there, and knowing my wife and them would get home late. And by then I was just kind of had it. I didn't get to fill my cup yesterday, and it bothered me. I don't need much, I don't ask for much, but I need to exercise. I need my time to record and get this stuff out. These are the two things that, working on the podcast and exercising, those are the things I need that fulfill me. But I was just so frustrated and kind of resigned to the fact. And it's like, well, it's 9 o'clock. I'm not going for a walk now. It's, I could record, but I didn't want to. I just didn't feel it. I felt irritated. I mean, honestly, I felt like giving up the podcast. This is episode 89. It's like, well, we may leave it at 88. Like, I literally felt that way. Like, what's the point? Do I even want to be a podcaster? Had to think about what would life be like without it. Maybe I should just go back into corporate. Yeah, that's super low frequency, low vibration for me. It's the first time I felt it in about 3 weeks. But if you don't get to let off a little steam, then you'll erupt like a volcano if the lava doesn't come out slowly. But I ended up just laying down on the couch and passed out. Woke up about 2:30 this morning. Went back to bed about 4:30. Took a little nap. 4:35 to 8 this a.m. Had some coffee now, and here we are. But yeah, yesterday was rough. Super rough for me. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Hmm. But here we are. Better late than never, and I don't like to miss. And I had a episode last year on the same day, Dia de los Muertos. So why not just continue it on? because I don't like to miss. I like to stay true to who I am. If I tell you I don't miss, then I don't miss. Whether it's for me or whether it's for you guys. If you're part of my accountability group, or if you're going to choose to do coaching with me, accountability coaching, I have to show up no matter what, even if it's a little late. Hmm. But it's a good reminder of showing up. I kept seeing this quote this week. It really stuck out. It was called "Stick to the plan, not how you feel, not your emotions." And that's what I thought about 2:30 this morning when I woke up. I was in a low vibrational state. My emotions were high. Therefore, your clarity and good decision making is low. And that's where that saying comes in: stick to the plan. If the plan is to release without missing, then just stick to the plan. I should have powered through it last night, but I don't know if I would have come off as clear headed and able to make sense of it all because I was still in an emotional state. And of course, one of the things I'm working on is to have a much quicker pivot in these when I get into these states to be able to turn it around and start moving in the direction of progress and healing much quicker towards that high vibrational state of being. So that's why it's late, but it is here nonetheless. So think about it as it relates to you. When you get in these low frequency modes, try to figure out what and why so you can know what fills your cup, what was missing. Was it a time constraint? Could you have done something better? Could you have planned better? But also, things are going to happen. The hardest thing about this current role that I'm in is that every day is different. You never know what to expect. Like I said, out of nowhere, hey, I need to get on the toilet. Well, you can't even stand how out of nowhere are you just deciding that this is going to happen. And now I got to fucking make it happen or try to make it happen. And sometimes I probably should just be more stern and say, no, we're going to wait till my wife gets here. That's what my wife tells me. Be stern. Like a little kid, they revert back. That's why I always say sometimes I'm almost too kind and do too much. But I am a solutions oriented. Let's figure out how, not why we can't. And if the goal is to get him back to normal and he thinks he can do it, then part of the point is giving him the support when he thinks he can do it. Just like a kid riding a bike. You don't want to force them through it. I mean, my daughter didn't ride a bike for a while, but then when she was ready with the right support and right kind of encouragement, then it happened very quickly. A few reps and she was good to go. And so I try to keep that in the back of my mind as, hey, when they think they can, that's the time to encourage and give that support and then help them through when they realize they can't. But they have to have that belief. It's better than the belief of, oh, no, I can't. Oh, I never will be. However, I do wish he'd be a little more smart about it. But I know as a man, we get impulsive and our ego comes into play and we think we can. And when that happens, it's got to be now and right away because otherwise we'll lose steam. Yeah, a lot goes into that. And I hope it, this thought process of hearing this and understanding it helps you out in some way. But let's go back to the week. You know, we had a doctor's appointment Monday. This time I had the travel plans, the travel itinerary down. Travel was much better, but the appointment wasn't much better. And we got there early, got in early, got out early, but still had to wait a lot, like an hour, for a non eventful appointment. an appointment that was nothing but talking. I thought like it was to a urologist. I thought like, oh, they do a bladder scan, they do this, they do that. No, basically follow up in 6 months. Oh, it looks like the cath we put in or took out at the rehab didn't take, and they put one back in. I guess you're gonna need a chronic cath, and yeah, come back in 6 months. And it's like, come on, man. Like that's when I asked him, "Do you have my chart?" He's like, "No, we're setting that shit up right away." And from here out, video appointments. If it doesn't require a procedure, then we ain't going. It is too much. It's a 20 spot one way everywhere you go. 20 spot back for a 10-minute nurse, doctor, PA to tell you, meh, come back in 6 months. Come on. My frustration continues with corporate medical. It's like nobody thinks, nobody takes into consideration or makes a recommendation or tries to make it easier to navigate their in their own self-centered little world. It's all about me, all the people I gotta see. Yeah, let's not think ahead and be smart for the people we serve and figure out what's easier for them. But that went smooth. I could tell he was disappointed that it was uneventful. And then, of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had therapies that came by, um, along with lots of rest and naps. Not great, not a great appetite, which I've been trying to feed him calorically dense foods because he's kind of eating less and sleeping more. But if all this activity wears him out, then it wears him out. I mean, I get worn out, but I also get up at like 4:30, 4:40 each morning because that's my time to spend with myself, start checking off my list, doing the things I do for the podcast that are kind of behind the scenes, back end stuff, whether it's learning how to create thumbnails, taking marketing, SEO courses through Udemy, um, business coaching session, working on design, working on layout. Yeah, the recording and the sound and the video here is just a small portion of what it means and takes to be a podcaster. Uh, that's why everybody thinks it's probably easy. Oh, I can talk. Yeah, well, can you do all the other shit? And not only that, though, I mean, unless you have money, unless you're well known and you start off and there's an agency who wants to edit and do all your podcasts, create clips, do all your marketing, you're going off your name, then yeah, it's easy. But when you're starting out, you're independent, you're small, nobody knows your name. Unlike Cheers, um, it's a lot of work. It's like building a business from the ground up, literally. So, yeah, I find these pockets along with, trying to spend time with him, making sure he's okay, the therapy, setting up appointments, making sure his medicine is good to go and that we got medicine on the way. He's not going to run out, ordering his stuff from Walmart. My wife does laundry pretty much. Um, yeah, and then, trying to get out, go see my dad, go hang out, run him to places. And then on the weekends, of course, it's time for me to maybe hit up the chiropractor, a massage, some self care, get away for a moment. But yeah, the days are busy. Over the past several weeks, like I said, I think I've gone through all the emotions, um, many feelings, learning things about myself every day. What I learned about last night was no fucking way I can let this go. This is who I am. This is what I do. for all of those who listen and want to hear it. I hope you get some value out of it. And at some point, I'm gonna, you know, get him to a point where I can interview him and some point I'll tell my story from the beginning when I think it's appropriate, when I have the hours, because it's a long one. But the idea is to connect you guys to me, because like I was telling someone, all the podcasts I listen to, it's like, hey, you can find good content, sound content about anywhere, but it's about that connection to the host. That's what makes me listen to someone is if I connect with them as a host. If I think they're funny, if I think they're clever, smart, I like the questions they ask, or I like who they are and what they're about, then I almost automatically connect versus, yeah, I'm sure Ed Milet and Tony Robbins and other people have good podcasts. I've listened to like an episode here or there before, but the majority of ones I listen to on a regular basis, it's because I identify with them in some way, a similarity. And so part of this time is to let you in to my world. And if you identify, then you can continue to listen, or hopefully it anchors you to what I'm about and what I'm trying to get out there. And you can identify a little bit with um, whether you're caregiving for someone, whether you're similar age, got kids, the struggles, part of the description in the podcast is navigating the chaos of everyday life, learning how each of us do this when you're faced with hmm, adversity, challenge, things not going your way, because it's always going to happen. And there's always a best way to deal with it. But I'm still working on that. Still haven't got 100% on that. But even that little nap and not releasing this episode at midnight like I would normally do, that little nap, that little time to decompress and file things in my head and understand that, yeah, I had a bad moment, a moment where you consider throwing it all away, but that's not me. It's not what I'm about. And I've been doing this for 15 months now, and I'm committed to it and committed to keeping it going and evolving it. And I know that I will. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Get out and spend time with your family. Oh, it's daylight savings. So get an extra hour of sleep tonight. Prepare accordingly. But yeah, just take some moments to ask yourself what throws you off? What fills your cup? What are the repercussions if you don't get to fill your cup? But also think ahead of time of how you're going to deal with it when you miss some of these things and you're unable to. Do you say fuck it all or nothing? Or do you say, hey, that was a minor setback. Let's let's think this through. Let's move into a different vibrational state and move forward. Maybe I should have taken that walk last night. Maybe the movement would have changed my frequency. It made me want to record, but I didn't. I was emotionally, mentally, and spiritually exhausted. And, I know I'd woken up with a headache yesterday morning about 2:30, so it was like 2 days in a row waking up kind of with a headache about 2:30 in the morning and taking some time to get back to sleep. So when your rhythm gets off, your rhythm gets off. But yeah, try to think it out ahead of time so so you're being proactive and not reactive. But these are all opportunities to learn about ourselves. So take advantage of them. That way you can go out and be the person that you would want to meet. Have a good weekend, guys.
Let go.
Asteroid of fear.